Hi, I'm Lucy Hoyle and I'm a cat behaviourist. Yes, it's an actual job and I know it's a dream job for lots of you. So I'm going to tell you today how I made it as a cat behaviourist and how you can too. So just like a brief overview of what a cat behaviourist actually does. So I work on my own, I'm self-employed, I don't work for any other company or with anybody else, and I go into people's homes to help them with their cats there. So it normally involves an initial consultation where we talk through the cat's behaviour and what the problems are, have a little look at the environment and what the contributing factors are, and then from there we create a plan as to how to change the cat's behaviour and how to resolve the problem. Normally focusing on making the cat happier and reducing any stress and just helping them, helping to meet their needs basically so that these behaviour problems don't arise. So the general behaviour problems I tend to help with are aggression, be that towards cats or people, toileting issues like urine marking or peeing outside the tray, and a whole host of other behaviour problems in between. So it is possible to make a living out of this. I just want to put that out there now because so many people along the way, especially at the beginning, have told me it was not possible. And that is the reason why I ended up starting doing dogs as well, totally out of my depth, out of my comfort zone, not knowing what I was doing. But soon dropped that and have focused on cats since 2010. So it definitely is possible. If you want to pursue a career in this area, don't let anyone tell you that it's not possible because it absolutely is. So something that's super important but probably irrelevant here is that you have to have a love of cats. And I say it's irrelevant because obviously you are here and you do have a love of cats. I have no doubt about that. So we can consider that box ticked. But I just mean that because it's really important to have like a genuine understanding or at least knowledge or recognition of the species that you're working with. Because I tried to work with dogs and I found myself not knowing their body language, not understanding their needs, not understanding their history, and how it shaped the animal that they're working with. So it's really important that you do have a good understanding of cats and you're willing to invest a lot of time learning about them because there is so much to learn. There's always a chance to learn something new. And if you're going to do this as a career, it's going to be cat heavy. So you really got to be invested. You really got to make sure that you can stick that out for the long haul and you're not going to get bored of learning about cats. But who could get bored about learning about cats? Definitely not us. I've always shared my life with cats as a kid and as an adult. I've had cats throughout. I think it was 3 days in the middle where I left my family home and moved in with my future husband, and we were suddenly like, we need a cat. And then 3 days later, we bought Fig home. And then 3 months after that, bought Sparks, and we've had them ever since. So when you're going to look to do a qualification into cat behaviour, you really want to make sure that you've got an enthusiasm for cats because otherwise you're going to find it super boring and yeah, you're not going to want to do that. So depending on what qualifications are around, there's no sort of set criteria. A behaviourist is an unregulated profession, so there's no set route into the industry. And for me, I was just super lucky that the university I was at, which was Southampton, they had an animal behaviour unit as part of my psychology. So I did a psychology bachelor's degree, which had like an animal behaviour unit, which obviously I loved. And then as a postgraduate degree, they had a whole course on companion animal behaviour counselling, which was very dog heavy, which is fine because the majority of the students were dog focused, but cats were lumped in with that as well. So obviously like the cat units, I was like, it's totally in my element. But trying to learn as much about dogs as I could as well, because I was thinking I'm going to have to do this as part of my job, although, as we know, that wasn't necessary. But there are feline focused courses out there. I would encourage you to look what's around you because that course I did isn't available anymore because I went on to do a master's in the same subject as well. And both of those, hello Fig, both of those courses are not available at Southampton University. I think the University of Lincoln have one, University of Edinburgh have one, and I believe there are some online courses as well that you might be able to do if you're in the UK. So have a look. And I would also encourage you as well to be part of an organisation. So I can recommend the Animal Behaviour and Training Council if you're in the UK, because they really have a focus on like positive welfare for all the animals that they treat. So we're really looking to use ethical methods when we're changing an animal's behaviour. And that's like very close to my values too. I really want to make sure the cat I'm working with, I'm not scaring them. I'm not using methods that are going to upset them to try to change their behaviour. I really want to do it in a way that works for the cat and works for the person. So have a look at the Animal Behaviour and Training Council. That's the regulatory body that, like, there's lots of different organisations that come under there. So have a look at those organisations, perhaps the Association of Pet Behaviour Counsellors, sorry, that went straight out of my mind, the Fellowship of Animal Behaviour Clinicians. There are lots of different organisations there that you can look to join, and each one has its own criteria as well. So sorry, this is getting super complicated. But basically, what I would recommend, taking all that complicatedness out of it, is just making sure you're always looking to learn, and you're always looking to learn from reputable sources as well. So International Cat Care can recommend. They have got an amazing cat behaviour online course that I believe a new one is coming soon, or it might already be available. So have a look on their website, because their information there is definitely super great. So, but yeah, there's lots of other sort of ad hoc information available too. Like, I try to put out as many webinars as I can, and just look for that information and keep your CPD up to date in terms of learning about cats, learning about cat behaviour, learning about cats' history and the specific behaviour problems that you're working with. As long as you're continuing to learn all the time and you're doing your best for every cat that you see, then I feel that that's a good way to pursue your career as a cat behaviourist. So it can be really difficult to get started because it's nerve-wracking, and you've maybe never had any experience of this before, where you've gone into somebody's home and you've been able to help them with their cat's behaviour, and you might be faced with a case that's really difficult. So I would encourage you to join an organisation, because they can offer support, and you can bounce ideas off other people, or ask, how did you work this, and how did you, what would be helpful in this situation? Because I've definitely used that in the past and found it super helpful. But at the beginning, it is more of a side hustle, because like any self-employed business, you have to build it up. So unless you're in a lucky position where you can suddenly sack off any other income and just focus on this, then you might need a supplementary income to keep yourself going while you're building things up. So for me, I did work in an office until 2020. So for those first 10 years, I was just building up on the side and doing more and more cases. I think I started off doing one a month. And some of that was just charitable work as well. So I wasn't charging, I was just getting the experience and helping where I could. And like I say, if you've got the qualifications, or you've got the experience that you need, and you can help, then why shouldn't you begin? Just put yourself out there. And what to charge is a video for another day. But you must make sure that you're charging a fair wage for the hours you're putting in. But also, I understand that right at the very beginning, it feels uncomfortable to charge a lot. So feel like if you need to do work for free, or if you need to do it for lower than you would ideally be charging, that's fine. You're gaining so much in experience, and that's super valuable, and will give you that confidence to raise your prices later down the line. So definitely bear in mind that it might be not very lucrative at the beginning, but so rewarding that you're helping people as you go, even if you're having to work a side job. And if you already work in the veterinary industry, or in a rescue with animals, or with cats, then it's a perfect side hustle, and maybe you could tie it into your work. So I know there are plenty of vet nurses doing an amazing job, giving out really good cat advice. The same with rescues as well. If you work with rescue, then you're in a good position to give out advice to settle cats into their new homes, or introduce to another cat. Or if someone says to you they've got a toileting issue, then you could give out litter tray advice. This advice, there's no downside to giving that out. There's no risk of that going wrong if you're just giving out basic advice of to make sure you've got a choice of 3 litter trays because you've got 2 cats, this sort of thing. So I would definitely encourage you to tie it into your current work if you can. But if you can't, then a side hustle definitely worked for me. So I quit my office job in 2020, which is 10 years after I started qualified as a cat behaviourist. So obviously that's a massive long period. But what I would say about this is I had 3 children in that time. So there were three years where I did no work. And after my first kid, then I only worked at my office job part-time. So it's a very specific scenario. Whereas I imagine if I was just working full-time, I would have the time and energy to commit to the cat side of things and make that move a lot quicker. So please don't feel defeated if you think, God, in 10 years' time, I might be able to quit my other job. You could definitely do it a lot quicker, especially now, because things are different than they were 14 years ago. A lot more people are interested in their cat's behaviour and willing to pay for a behaviourist, and needing that support with their behaviour, and just knowing it's there. So please don't feel like you've got to do it for 10 years before you see any benefit. And it was nice having it as a side hustle. It was another stream of income I had coming in that was useful, and I appreciated a lot, especially with young kids. So so be prepared for a little period of hard work where you might be having to juggle side hustles. But yeah, the reason I quit in 2020 was because of COVID. So I was already on maternity leave with my youngest, and then when COVID hit, lots more people were open to doing Zoom consultations. And so now I wasn't just working in my little radius of like the south of England. Now, obviously, behaviour help was available to anyone. So I do see probably half of my cases now are remote on Zoom. And that's usually because either someone wants to see me above anyone else because they like what I've put on my website, or they like how I work and my ethos and things, or it's because there isn't anyone in their area that could visit and they would prefer a home visit, but there's not enough cat behaviourists around. This is why I'm doing this. Like, you guys, come on, we need you. We need more people doing cat behaviour. So it's definitely worked for me. And I, during my maternity leave, was like, okay, I think I can afford to not go back to work. Because, like I say, that was a part-time job anyway by that point. So it wasn't such a massive jump from like a full-time wage into this. It was more like I had the opportunity to build it up steadily. So that was good. So now the way my business works now is that I have like half my work is with clients direct. So I see one client a week now, which is less than I was before, because I was trying to help as many people as I could, and I was getting influx of people from everywhere going, I need help, and I was getting totally burnt out. So the way I work now is I only see one cat per week, and it did mean I had to increase my prices because like I was losing money by not seeing so many people. So now I charge more, I see fewer people, which means I can help them more. And since doing that, like I see so much more success, and it's so much more satisfying for the client because yay, their cat's like not peeing on their bed anymore. And also for me, because I'm suddenly able to feel like, okay, I am able to give that person the support they needed, rather than being like people getting lost because I'm now on to the next one. And then feeling guilty like in the middle of the night, like, oh, whatever happened to that cat? I didn't follow up on that one. So now I feel much better having fewer clients but charging more, and having that as like half my business, because the other half is ideally lots of free stuff. So here I am on YouTube trying to get out some free advice that's accessible for everybody, people that might have their little problem here and there. I have a book here which I wrote, which was really fun to write and hopefully helps a lot of people and is affordable and covers lots of information on like preventing behaviour problems, or not, it doesn't drill down into behaviour problems generally, but it focuses more on like cat well-being and making sure your cat's happy and that you're doing what you can for your cat. So this side of the job, it's not directly paid, like I'm not getting loads of money from this stuff, but it's so much better for me to know that I can help as many people as possible, because there's not that much information out there, and there's a whole like community of cat owners. I feel like there's like the cat people that want to learn everything they could possibly learn, and I love those people. I love working with those people, and it's so much fun to talk through cat behaviour with those people. But there's also loads of people that have a cat in their house, they're not interested in learning more, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to learn everything you can about your cat, but there's also small changes that these people can make to make their cat's life easier. So I'm aiming to reach as many people as I can with that side of my business, and I feel like that is a big part of my day-to-day job now. So I know that's not going to be the same for everyone, but depending on what role you have, especially if you're already in the like veterinary industry or rescue industry, you can do so much good in those roles, and do cat behaviourist stuff on the side as well, and be like in an amazing position like a vet or a vet nurse doing my job. They have a whole medical knowledge that I don't have, which is super useful, and would be in an amazing position to help a cat in that scenario, which is a conversation for another day. Like, medical problems mixed with behaviour problems, so common and so difficult to unpick. But a couple more things I would just mention about being behaviourist is that, firstly, it's super hard. Like, there are cats you just cannot help. And I know if you're in other cat industries, you would know that's the case there too, like for rescues and things. But sometimes a cat is just not happy in their environment and you can't solve it. Sometimes you know exactly what will help that cat, but the person's not on board with doing it for whatever reason, sometimes very good reasons, sometimes not so good reasons because they just can't be bothered. And you can't force it. So you have to have a bit of a thick skin, and you have to be like, I'm trying my best to help everyone, but if you take on responsibility and you feel accountable for every cat you see that you aren't able to help despite doing your best, you have to push through that, because you'll shut down and you'll break, like you'll burn out. And I've definitely been there so many times. But come on, we're going to help the next one, maybe the next one. So that's a very difficult part of the job. So definitely, like I was saying, be part of the organisations because they're there as like support, and that's useful. Another thing I would definitely recommend is to make sure, like, this is probably the most biggest piece of advice I could offer about being a cat behaviourist, or that I found has made my job easier, is not to judge. And that just sounds so preachy, doesn't it? But I don't mean that in like a, like, I just mean if someone tells you that they smacked their cat, then we need to just talk them around and be like, okay, that wasn't such a good idea. We won't be doing that in future. It's definitely not going to be helpful. Because if you judge them for it, and if you go, oh, God, what are you thinking? Obviously, you've caused this whole problem, which for a lot of times the person has caused the whole problem, not on purpose, but because of their behaviour. Now your cat's suffering. We can't judge them for it because they won't follow your advice, and you won't be helping the cat long term. So empathizing with them, how they felt at the time, why they were so frustrated, how this is difficult for them, how this has taken over their lives, and being really like on their side 100% of the time is like the crux of the whole thing. Like, yes, you need to know about cat behavior, you need to know how to resolve the problems, you need to know all that stuff, and you can learn that. But the judgmental side of things, that's about you, that's about your natural feeling and being able to look past the emotion in that and be like, okay, that shouldn't have happened, but here we are now, let's deal with it from here on out. So yeah, keep that in mind as like your primary aim, is just to be open and not judgmental, because it's super important. One final thing I just wanted to mention about being a cat behaviourist is that yes, our primary aim is to go out and resolve whatever problem that a cat is dealing with, and for it to be happy days and you can be like, yay, another one resolved. And obviously that does happen plenty of times, but there's also times when it doesn't happen, and the other side of being a behaviourist is supporting that person with that problem, because it's not just a case of going like, well, we tried, see you later, and then they're just left. I think the long-term support, and as long as you decide for your business plan, that long-term support can sometimes be useful, because sometimes they just need someone to be like, okay, I know it's not going to resolve because there's 18 cats outside. I know my cat's scared of them all. I'm not willing to rehome. So now we've just got this problem that we can live with. Like, that problem's not going to go away, and they need someone to be able to vent to be able to talk things through. And hopefully as time goes on, you could maybe introduce the idea of rehoming again to a less stressful environment. But I have people even now that I've seen years ago, and this is probably not a very good business decision to be fair, but I've had people years ago coming back to me going, oh, it's still happening. I bought a new sofa and it was a super expensive one and you peed on it. And I'm just there to be like, oh no, this is so disappointing. And like, we talk through what she might have tried and what's not helping. And you know they need to be rehomed. You know that cat's not happy there, but the person's not willing. It's just important to be there as a little source of like support for them. Which isn't easy, but is so valuable to a lot of people. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. So it is a difficult job at times, but it is a dream job. It's been amazing. I do love every day. And if you want the best for cats, if you love learning about cats and you want to help people, then this is absolutely the job for you. And there's so much need for it. So if you're thinking about it, don't doubt yourself, just go for it. And I'm here to chat if you want to. But don't forget to subscribe if you want to learn more, because I will be posting, like continuing to post as we go. And I'm looking at setting up a little bit of mentoring something, because people ask me about mentoring, which I don't offer. I'm so sorry, but I am working on something. So keep an eye out, and I will see you next time. And I need to just show you this. Oh, look at this situation. They're so adorable. The little yin yang. Anyway, I will see you next time.